Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH The Flame Emperor episode number 170 based on novel. So let's start. Boom boom boom. What emerged from the two guys was the power of life of the 8th rank level. In addition to the attributes of the two, one is thunder and the other is water, so for the two fire dragons, more or less there is restraint. I didn't expect these two guys to be the 8th rank life force. Xiaoyang stood behind the two fire dragons and spoke slightly. If it wasn't for the two of them possessing such terrifying vitality, the double dragon flame formation alone would be enough to consume them to death. Heart-killing finger, poisonous hands. Gunny's body had the power of Xiaoyan, while Wang Xie's body had the power of dazzling silver thunder, and two terrifying attacks were directed towards the two fire dragon. Hoo ho ho. The two fire dragons condensed by Xiaoyang were not vegetarian either. After all, one was condensed according to Emperor Yang, and the other one was based on holy flame, so they would definitely not be destroyed by the two. What two powerful fire dragons! Gunny was facing the gorgeous fire dragon, the fire dragon condensed by Di Yang. However, Rao Yi Guni's strength at the early stage of the 7-star Do Emperor and the power of an 8th rank student delivered a powerful blow, but the fire dragon did not change any color, and he immediately became suspicious. What is the relationship between this formation, fire dragon, and Xiaoyang? This fire dragon is too strong, but attacking Xiaoyang will be intercepted by the fire dragon. It's really weird. Gunny also hesitated. Why are you standing still? Attack. Wang Xie kept attacking the khaki fire dragon, but what made Wang Xie depressed was that no matter how powerful he attacked, he would be attacked by the khaki fire dragon. Devouring, like a bottomless pit, constantly devours one's own power to enhance the power of the fire dragon. Hey. I can't think of the runes condensed by the core inscriptions of the battle formation masters, and the power of my Emperor Flame and Holy Flame, to actually make this double dragon flame formation to a higher level. I'm afraid that just relying on the formation technique, it would be effortless to stop the two mid-stage 7-star Do Emperor powerhouses. Xiaoyang smiled slowly. Go. Although he was happy in his heart, Xiaoyang's attack did not stop. One after another attack with fierce flames radiated from the two fire dragons, and then slapped on Guni and Wang Xie viciously. The array space was already relatively hot, which immediately made both of them devastated. It can't go on like this. This space seems to be eating away the power in us, and the fire dragon is the same. If it goes on like this, one will lose the other, and I'm afraid it's only us who will suffer. The last blow, if it succeeds, it will kill Xiao. If it fails, just run away. Guni was also full of uncertainty, and then he spoke to Wang Xie. Guni knew that now was not the time to break up with Xiaoyang. For the sake of fighting spirit and heritage inheritance, there was no need to break up with Xiaoyang. Okay. When Wang Xie heard the words, he didn't question it. After all, the pressure of the holy flame dragon that Wang Xie faced was much greater. Pick me up. Poison flower burial. Wang Xie suddenly laughed strangely, and then green poisonous gas emerged from the surroundings. Boom boom boom. The next moment, the space around Wang Xie flashed with a dazzling green aura, and then like a stamen, it suddenly lifted into the air and then exploded in an instant. With two fire dragons appearing in the past. The two fire dragons seemed to be provoked, and immediately roared at the formation space. Break it for me. Both Gunny and Wang Xie shrank their pupils tightly, and with destructive fluctuations, they directly hit the two fire dragons. The seemingly terrifying venom attack hit the fire dragon, but the two fire dragons seemed to be invincible, but the next moment, a roar pierced through the formation space. What kind of flame is this? It can actually burn my life force. My life force is also limited by the flames. Both Gunny and Wang Xie were covered by a khaki yellow holy flame, and they suddenly exclaimed. Because this khaki yellow holy flame's power has vaguely reduced their strength. Break it. Seeing this, Xiaoyang immediately smiled. However, as Xiaoyang's understated voice fell, Guni and Wang Xie's expressions changed drastically. They both smelled an extremely dangerous aura from the two-day fire dragon, and even felt a wave of destruction from the khaki fire dragon, and they did not dare to hesitate. No, let's go. The two looked at each other, and without any hesitation, suddenly took out a rather exquisite rune scroll from the ring, and smashed it in an instant. As the two moved so fast, the figure disappeared directly into the space of the formation. These two guys are willing to use such a precious space scroll. Xiaoyang shook his head, and then waved at the two behind him. The two fire dragons disappeared instantly, and the space of the formation returned to calm. Did they run away? Mu Yingying seemed to realize that there was only Xiaoyang's figure in the scroll, and she immediately exited. It seems that those two guys used the space scroll to escape. Tian Jian said, slightly opening his mouth. Space scroll? Mu Yingying asked in confusion. It seems to be a scroll that can be moved in a short distance, but this kind of thing can only be condensed by experts in the space system. Although it is sold on the market, it is expensive to manufacture. Yueru said. Are you all right? Seeing Xiaoyang coming out, the two women hurriedly asked with concern. It's all right, let's go. Xiaoyang put away the scroll of formation. He never imagined that the scroll of formation was so terrifying that just one scroll could trap two strong men of the same level. Xiaoyang, are you all right? Xiaoyang and the others just left when they saw Xiuqi and his party. Xiuqi just saw you, hugged you directly, checked it and found that there was nothing serious, and then opened her mouth slightly, but even so, she still scolds Xiaoyang viciously from time to time. 5 poisons and the others are back. Xiaoyang looked at Xiuqi and the others gathered, and immediately greeted a certain direction, whereas the 5 poisons and his party. Is everything all right? Xiaoyang asked tentatively. This was obviously for the 5 poisons. After all, they also entered the medicine garden to find a cure for the negative poison body. Okay, let's go. Next, I'm afraid that is the most exciting place in the entire ruins. Wuju smiled slowly and said. If that's the case, then let's go. Xiaoyang glanced at the medicine garden with a nostalgic look. After all, many medicinal materials in the past few years are hard to find in the outside world. Immediately, without hesitation, he strode out and walked directly towards the Crystal Palace. And a few other people saw this, and followed. However, when Xiaoyang and the others were moving towards the Crystal Palace, someone had already entered the Crystal Palace. On the highest point in Guanghan Island, in front of the Purple Crystal Palace, many people stayed here. What happened? Why don't you go in? Don't get in the way if you don't go in. A man said with disdain. To be able to come to the place where the last relics of Guanghan Island are inherited is naturally some strong guys. You guy, don't you know what's going on? Don't you know what's going on inside? If you want to go in and die, we won't stop you. The girl said with a coquettish anger. Chenna, don't make trouble. Song Yu took a step forward and said immediately. It's actually a person from Wanjianmen, and he almost caused trouble. Others don't know Hong Qian, but everyone knows Song Yu, a famous person. After all, Song Yu is not only Song's strength but also his temperament. Can be regarded as a leader. Senior brother Song, there is a legacy of heritage in this Purple Crystal Palace. Why don't you go in? After a while, a mighty voice sounded slightly. It was Feng Hong who spoke now. Feng Hong, the two of you came just in time. Song Yu was naturally overjoyed when he heard this. What's the matter? Seeing Song Yu's expression like this, Feng Hong immediately felt that something had happened and asked. We just entered the matter of Guanghan Island and went to other places. We didn't come to the Purple Crystal Palace for the first time. Now that we came here, we found something unusual. Song Yu said. Something unusual? Feng Hong heard the words, his sturdy muscles shrank slightly. The gate of this palace seems to have been opened. Looking at Song Yu who was hesitating to speak, Feng Hong glanced at the gate of the palace not far from everyone, and found that the gate had been opened. It's true that someone went in, but everyone who entered is dead. After Song Yu finished speaking, he pointed to several corpses that had lost their breath nearby. Dead. At this time, in the crowd, Meng Fei of Dan Valley and his little entourage suddenly said from the crowd, I'm a pharmacist, I'll take a look. Meng Fei directly crossed the crowd, then came to Song Yu and the others, and walked towards the corpse. What's the reason? Feng Hong originally wanted to take Du Chun to see it, but when he thought that the ancient desolate palace only had extraordinary insights into physical cultivation, and he knew little about other things, he let Meng Fei go there. After all, Meng Fei is a pharmacist, I am afraid he knows a little bit. I don't know. Song Yu shook his head upon hearing this. Do not know. How did these people die? Feng Hong suddenly became puzzled when he heard the words. It's because I don't know how they died, so no one has entered the palace for a long time now. But the only thing I know now is that these people opened the gate of the palace and entered it. It didn't take long, but it was thrown directly from the gate. Song Yu shook his head. It's really evil. Du Chun heard this and couldn't help but say. This Purple Crystal Palace will undoubtedly be the biggest treasure in the ruins this time, but everyone is actually trapped at the door, which is a bit. Is there such a strange thing? The puppet mansion Hua Lashin on the side heard the words, and immediately stepped forward slightly. Very strange. There are no strange scars all over the body, and in the body, the soul and fighting spirit are all there, but why is there no vitality? How on earth did this person die? Meng Fei looked at the few people who died, and immediately became puzzled. Obviously, this mysterious cause of death troubled everyone. But what Meng Fei didn't notice was that on the surface of these people's bodies, at the heart, there was a faint scar that was hard to see with the naked eye. What exactly is going on? We've all come here, we can't go back empty-handed, right? No, no. There were continuous whispers around. Just when everyone was wondering, a middle-aged man came here. The gate of the palace was actually opened. These idiots, the real treasure is in the palace. Since you don't dare to go, I'll go first. The middle-aged man finished speaking and swept away directly at the purple crystal palace. He knew that he was the first to enter, and the treasure inside must be his own. Immediately, there was a trace of greed in his pupils, and even the scene of how attractive the treasure was echoed in his mind. Looking at the man's actions, none of the people present stopped him. Because they don't know what the mystery is in this purple crystal palace, why these people died mysteriously. As the middle-aged man entered the purple crystal palace, the door was closed directly. 1 minute. 2 minutes. 5 minutes. There was no strange sound in the purple crystal palace. Why is this person all right? Hua Lixin immediately asked with some doubts. Why is the person who just entered all right? If it's all right, I'm afraid that the treasure inside will be obtained by that guy. Don't look at me, I don't know. Song Yu seemed to notice that the eyes of many strong men were staring at him, and immediately waved his hands helplessly. Just when everyone was thinking about getting started, the tightly closed gate of the purple crystal palace actually cracked open a crack in the door, and the middle-aged man who just entered was thrown directly. Fly out. Immediately, the gate of the purple crystal palace was hidden like that. The thoughts that everyone had just had in their hearts were instantly shattered. Catch him. At this moment, Meng Fei was too busy to think about anything. The reality is in front of him, he can't bear to believe it. As soon as Meng Fei's voice fell, Feng Ran, the young entourage beside Meng Fei, jumped up and instantly caught the middle-aged man. Bring it to me. Meng Fei's face was solemn. Obviously, although there were a lot of treasures in this purple crystal palace, it was undoubtedly full of danger. What's the matter with this person's screams just now? Meng Fei checked it and found that the blood in this person's body was still warm, but at this time, there was no vitality, and he obviously didn't know what he had experienced. How is it? Song Yu hurriedly asked. Do not know. These people who died, the cause of death cannot be found out at all. There are no scars on the surface of the body, not even the soul's strength and grudge have been lost. I really can't think of how these guys died. It seems that this purple crystal palace seems to be much more dangerous than we thought. At this time, many strong men stopped slightly. Obviously in the face of death and huge temptation, they still maintained a trace of reason. Maybe, let me try. Just when everyone was confused and helpless, a slim woman suddenly appeared in front of everyone. The woman held an oil paper umbrella, very much like the woman who came out of the painting, with 3,000 blue silk, a face like a goose egg, and a slightly erect nose bridge, which was quite graceful, and even her figure seemed to be unable to withstand the grip of others. People from Heartless Valley? Hong Chen suddenly said. People from Heartless Valley? Following Hong Chen's words, everyone else's eyes were immediately focused on the woman. People from the Valley of Heartbreak? It is said that although the people in the Valley of Heartfelt only have as many disciples as one hand, aren't they all indifferent people? How could you intervene in this kind of thing? Some strong people couldn't help but wonder. This is no wonder, after all, if people in the Valley of Heartfelt want to enter this valley, they must focus on being heartless, and heartless, and only when they are heartless can they be qualified to practice the supreme cultivation technique in the Valley of Heartlessness, but if they enter this valley, they will undoubtedly be lost. The 7 emotions and 6 desires. The woman gently folded the oil paper umbrella, and then walked slightly in front of several mysteriously dead figures. Then, in front of the crowd, Wei Wei took out a pair of white gloves, put them on gently, and began to examine the cause of death of these people. This guy, isn't it a trick? Meng Fei's face was a little ugly. Obviously, he couldn't check it out. Meng Fei naturally didn't believe that this guy could check it out. Strangeness. The physical state of these people. Jieching Jiu Bing Shui said to himself. However, the ice water is indeed, as its name suggests, as cold as a stream of water, inhumane. Don't struggle, I have already checked. The cause of death of these people is very strange, and you can't check it out. Wasting time. Meng Fei naturally had his pride, and immediately spoke. Hearing this, Bing Shuai didn't even look at Meng Fei, obviously he didn't take him seriously. Quiet me, Song Yu shouted loudly when he heard the words. Humph. Meng Fei heard the words, and then became quiet. As the surroundings quieted down, Bing Shuai continued to check the men who died mysteriously, but what surprised Bing Shuai was that these people had no visible scars at all. Is it an internal injury? Bing Shuai shook his head and then slowly probed the man away. After a while, there was already a result. What is this? Bing Shuai slightly removed the dead man's chest and opened his mouth slightly, obviously seeing the mysterious scar on the man's heart. This. The next moment, Song Yu and several strong men also found the doubts of Bing Shuai, and immediately gathered around. Such small scars, I'm afraid that if you don't observe carefully, you really can't find them. Thanks to Miss Bing Shuai. Song Yu said, obviously very happy to find the cause of death. Don't be too happy, I'm afraid it's not that simple. Bing Shuai was extremely calm, because with her perception, it seemed that there was something inside through this tiny scar connecting the heart. Bing Shuai didn't care about them directly, a force of life came out slightly from the palm of his hand, and immediately cut the man's chest open. People of Heartless Valley, it's too hateful for you to do this. Everyone else is dead. If you destroy other people's bodies like this, others will not let you go even if they are a ghost. The people who have heard about the cold-blooded Valley of Love for a long time have never thought that it is true when they see it today. It's really chilling. Some people couldn't help but say, "Are you finished?" Bing Shuai asked directly in the face of these people's doubts. You. The strong men who just spoke were obviously a little angry. If I don't cut up this man's body, I'm afraid you will never know the cause of death. As for the so-called corpse left to be a saint in your mouth, let's find someone else. After Bing Shuai finished speaking, he directly checked the chest of the man exposed to the air. This is. How can it be? I just checked and didn't find anything. The next moment, Meng Fei's pupils suddenly became strange, and then he stared at the man's chest in front of him, as if he saw something. The perception of soul power is not necessarily prepared. Bing Shuai heard the words and said a little. What is this? Song Yu stepped forward, looked at the mysterious black thing flowing in the man's chest, and then asked. This man's heart should have been stolen by a mysterious creature in the palace. As for this black thing, I'm afraid it's some poison used to cover up the disappearance of the heart, so you didn't find it just now. After Bing Shuai finished speaking, he didn't forget to say a few words to Meng Fei. Forget it, these people are dead. But the next moment, Bing Shuai looked at the strange heart-like thing, but the picture said in his heart. Then how did you find out? Meng Fei asked immediately. I have my own way. Bing Shuai said, and then stopped talking. What's next? Song Yu asked immediately. Come in. I can feel that a 7-star Do Di level powerhouse will not be killed by the thing inside. After Bing Shuai finished speaking, he got up slightly and glanced at everyone thoughtfully. A powerhouse at the level of the 7-star Do Di. There aren't many of us here. Everything is up to you. I'm not reconciled, I don't believe it. Among the crowd, some powerful 6-star fighting emperors spoke slightly. Then the next moment, regardless of the mysterious death of several people, he directly entered the gate of the palace. However, the people waiting for it are exactly the same as the people who died before. Do you believe it now? Bing Shuai didn't stop these people. After all, he was not strong enough, so he couldn't blame others. Yep. Go in and have a look. Hua Lixin was also afraid of this thing and said immediately. Wait a minute, it's better to deal with this black thing first. Just as everyone was preparing to act, a familiar voice spoke slowly. It was Xiaoyang and his group who came, and there were several others including Gunny Wang Xiaxingtao, but the two Gunnis were quite embarrassed. Xiaoyang. It's better to solve this black thing as soon as possible. Xiaoyang ignored Meng Fei, walked forward and said to the ice water. You want to be a saint? Bing Shuai was slightly surprised by Xiao Yanwei's sudden scene. Saint? I don't want to. I just don't want to face enemies on both sides when we enter the palace, am I right? The heartless Gu Bing Shuai? Xiaoyang said with a slight smile. As you like. Anyway, the people here, the powerhouses who are not strong enough for the 7-star Do Emperor, will all die. Of course, including your people. Bing Shuai said strangely. That's not necessarily true. Xiaoyang smiled when he heard the words, and then a silver light rat flashed on his palm. The silver light mouse just appeared, and he said something, and then the men who just died were actually coming back to life. Damn it. How did these guys survive? And strength. Actually, a class has skyrocketed. How is that possible? The crowd was full of panic. The strength of the few people who just died was around the late stage of the 6-star Do Emperor. Now that they are resurrected, their strength has risen by 1 rank, and I am afraid it is enough to sweep all the powerhouses here. Explode. Xiaoyang said softly, and suddenly black things appeared in the hearts of the men who had just been resurrected, and then Xiaoyang directly used the power of flame to detonate them away. Now, you can go in. After doing all this, Xiaoyang said to his army with a smile. You're ruthless. Seeing this, Bing Shuer shook his head slightly, and said nothing. However, the people present knew that if there was no Xiaoyang, I am afraid that if these 7-star Do Emperor powerhouses entered the palace, they would definitely be killed by this corpse whose strength had skyrocketed, and their attitude towards Xiaoyang immediately became friendly. Let's go. Xiaoyang said softly, and then Shukiwudu and his group walked towards the palace. This bitch, she's really ruthless. No wonder she came out of the Valley of Heartlessness, she's heartless. Seeing this, Feng Hong couldn't help but say something. Obviously, if Xiaoyang hadn't acted to solve the problem of the Black Heart just now, I'm afraid the people who stayed here would have been beheaded by the men who suddenly turned into corpses. At that time, in the palace, they have to deal with mysterious unknown creatures, and at the same time they have to deal with these corpse creatures whose strength has suddenly skyrocketed. The people in this heartless valley are really nothing. If it weren't for Xiaoyang, I'm afraid we. The strong man in the crowd couldn't help but said, and then cast a resentful look at Bing Shuer, but Bing Shuer seemed to be nothing. Let's go. The next moment, the 7-star Do Emperor powerhouses among the many sects poured into the palace gate. These powerhouses naturally include Hua Lexin, Qi Haoqing, Guni, Wang Xie, Meng Fei, Xinglong, Xiaoyang and the others, Bing Shuer, and several other 7-star fighting emperors. This palace is really weird. I always feel that something is wrong. When everyone went to the hidden gate of the Purple Crystal Palace, Mu Feng couldn't help but speak. How do you say this? Song Yu was slightly surprised when he heard the words. Although Mu Feng was not strong, he had left an indelible impression in his heart when he first cracked the mysterious Iron Gate gossip. I can't tell you the specifics, but what's inside seems to be mastered by my yin and yang technique. Mu Feng shook his head diligently. The technique of yin and yang is some quite mysterious exercises in the Great Thousand World. It is said that there are various mysteries among them. Feng Hong also stepped forward and said at this time. Maybe. After Mu Feng finished speaking, he stepped forward slightly. Have you found anything? Xiaoyang glanced at Leng Fuyao behind him and asked. No. This palace is very big. It seems that entering the gate of the palace is the beginning. Leng Fuyao said. Humph. Xiaoyang, this time we will let you go without food. It was Guni who spoke. At this time, Guni, Wang Xie and Qi Haoqing were together, apparently reaching a certain consensus, and then said to Xiaoyang. When Xiaoyang heard the words, he ignored them. After a while, everyone became vigilant in their hearts, and immediately came to the gate of the Purple Crystal Palace. Come in. I don't know who said something, but then these strong men were discouraged. This mysterious palace is too mysterious. As soon as you enter it, you will die. Although the people here, except Xiaoyang and his party, are all 7-star Do Emperor powerhouses, but at the moment of life and death, they are obviously hesitant. Seeing this, Bing Shuer shook his head slightly, then opened the oil paper umbrella directly, tapped his toes lightly, and flew away towards the hidden door. Does this guy know something? Xiaoyang was extremely shocked. Adding in the question of the Black Heart just now, I am afraid that the people in the Valley of Heartfelt probably know something. Mu Feng, let's go, the others, stay here. Xiaoyang snorted coldly, and after speaking, his figure exploded and followed the ice water. When Feng Hong, Song Yu, Guni and the other 7-star Do Di strongmen saw this, they all looked at each other and followed directly. They knew that this was the last stop of the ruins, and even if it was the Longtan Tiger Den, they had to make a foray. They'll be fine, right? Xiuqi couldn't help but said immediately, the reason why Xiaoyang didn't let them follow is for Yueru and the others' safety. After all, there are a lot of people here. If there aren't some powerful people repression, I'm afraid it's easy to get into trouble. Don't worry, Xiaoyang's strength is tyrannical, and with Mu Feng, everything will be fine. Qin Xin saw that several people were silent, and then spoke up. Squeak. The group had just entered the Purple Crystal Palace, and the hidden door was immediately closed. The Purple Crystal Palace is very large, it seems to have the size of a sect, and the gate of the palace, I don't know what material it is made of, anyway, even if the strength of Xiaoyang and a few people is gathered, I am afraid it will not be able to break. The way back is blocked. Mu Feng carefully inspected the gate of the Purple Crystal Palace, only to find out that it was unsuccessful. What a mysterious space. Everyone heard the words, but they didn't show it. After all, there are still many people here, and their strength is not bad. Even if there are other changes, they will take care of them one by one. Just entered the gate of the Purple Crystal Palace, and suddenly a desperate darkness filled the air, and I couldn't see my fingers. This aura seems odd. Because Xiaoyang, as an alchemist, has stronger soul power than others, he naturally sensed some other things. According to Xiaoyang's perception, the space here is about several hundred meters in area, but in the darkness, Xiaoyang didn't know there was any mystery. Bing Shuer, have you found anything? Seeing that everyone had no response, Song Yu asked immediately. At this time, it seemed that he could only pin his hopes on Bing Shuer. Here. It's weird. If you take a wrong step, you may be close to death. Bing Shuer said with a decapitation. What the ***** is this place? It's not that Fairy Moon is kind-hearted, how could such a terrifying thing exist in her inheritance palace? Someone couldn't help but say immediately. Hihi, I don't know how Fairy Moon fell. How can you be sure of Fairy Moon? Gunny didn't fear the darkness here, and spoke directly. Pimples. Just as several people were arguing, Xiaoyang suddenly shouted loudly. This guy. Bing Shuer was a little surprised at Xiaoyang when he heard this. The reason why she can know the secret here is because her master has a deep understanding of Fairy Moon Shabu Shabu. Xiaoyang's voice just fell, and the surroundings immediately became quiet. In the next breath, in the darkness, something seemed to drip down. Immediately, the space became quiet. Who is it? Song Yu frowned and asked. It's a strong man from another sect in the early stage of the 7-star Dodi. Feng Hong walked over and supported the strong man who was attacked. What was it that attacked you just now? Song Yu also noticed what seemed to be a mysterious thing that attacked this person just now, and immediately asked. Facing Song Yu's question and answer, the only response to him was the dark and dead silence. Don't ask. This guy is dead. But the cause of death is different from those outside. This time, it was directly pierced through the heart and died. And we seem to have annoyed the guy here. Xiaoyang's voice suddenly said. What? Facing Xiaoyang's voice, Meng Fei also became puzzled. This guy's heart is gone. After Xiaoyang finished speaking, he stared at a certain place in the darkness with interest, as if this mysterious creature had already been known to Xiaoyang. On the other hand, Bing Shuer was also staring at Xiaoyang faintly at this time. It seemed that this guy also knew the secret here. Although the man died inexplicably just now, Xiaoyang still found some clues. Just now that person was the furthest away from him, and in the early stage of the powerful 7-star Dodi, his attribute was wind. What? When everyone heard the words, their expressions immediately became strange in the darkness. It's too dark here. The two of you are fire-type alchemists. Let's make some fire. In this darkness, some people couldn't stand such a terrifying scene, and immediately said to Xiaoyang and Meng Fei. You can't use light here. Xiaoyang and Bing Shuer said instantly. What's going on? Facing Xiaoyang and Bing Shuer at the same time, Feng Hong and Song Yu were also at a loss and asked immediately. Did you say it? Xiaoyang said to the ice water in a negotiating tone. I'm here for Fairy Moon's inheritance. I'm not interested in other people's lives and deaths. Bing Shuer didn't appreciate it at all, but he was slightly surprised when Xiaoyang noticed the mystery here. So we are rivals? Xiaoyang heard and laughed. You can say that. Bing Shuer replied. Actually, I don't want them to know the secret here. But depending on the two of us, I'm afraid we won't be able to deal with that guy, so why don't we announce the situation you and I know, and when we solve this, the inheritance will depend on our ability. Xiaoyang stared at Bing Shuer rode slightly. Xiaoyang did discover some clues when the mysterious creature took action just now through his soul power and spiritual power, but Xiaoyang was sure that what he knew was definitely not as much as ice water, so he discussed it with ice water. Alright, that guy, I can't handle it either. Bing Shuer thought for a while, and then said. How good would it be earlier? Mu Feng immediately laughed and scolded when he heard the words. What the is that? Seeing Xiao and Bing Shuer reach a consensus, the other powerhouses also became vigilant. Do you know Fairy Moon? Bing Shuer was the first to speak. The Fairy Moon is said to have the strength of fighting immortals, and she is as beautiful as a flower. She is one of the best beauties in the world. Wang Xie said, but when talking about beauty, some evil clearly emerged. There is only one female disciple in Fairy Moon's sect. This female disciple is extremely powerful, and she also has a jade rabbit spirit to accompany her. The jade rabbit spirit is probably a strong one now. Bing Shuer continued. Why do you say this? We just want to know the secret here. Gunny couldn't help but wonder. Don't interrupt, let her speak. Hearing that, Song Yu cast a vicious glance at Gunny. Although everyone is in the dark at this time, these people are very powerful, and through their soul power, they will naturally not recognize the wrong person. Have you heard of the mysterious elves? The next moment, Bing Shuer suddenly said. Mysterious elves? What is that? Qi Haoqing asked in surprise. What? Mysterious elves? That vicious creature that exclusively feeds on human hearts. Meng Fei's expression suddenly became strange when he heard the words. As a disciple of Meng Fei Dangu, he naturally knows these things. Sure enough, it is this thing. Xiaoyang and Mu Feng both said in their hearts, obviously they had already guessed this thing. Mysterious elves are extremely strange creatures. They like to live in the dark, and once they are exposed to light, they will fall into a state of madness. In the state of madness, the strength of the mysterious elf will be greatly improved. If the mysterious elf is in a state of madness, I am afraid that no one present will be able to escape. Bing Shuer said slightly. Crazy. Hua Lexin asked in confusion. The so-called madness is madness. Xiaoyang explained. Then what does this have to do with eating people's hearts? Hua Lexin continued to ask. Mysterious elves can only use this method if they want to advance. Originally, the strength of this mysterious elf should be at the consummation of the 7-star Do Emperor. Now that it has swallowed up several human powerhouses, I am afraid that it has vaguely touched the threshold of the 8-star. Bing Shuer said seriously. 8 stars. After hearing the words, many strong men felt lingering fears. And this is just the main entrance of the palace. If you want to enter, you must pass here. The ice water is at the exit. What's the best way to solve this? Feng Hong thought for a while and then said. Although the strength of this mysterious elves is likely to reach the level of an 8-star Dodi, they are better than many people. Use fire. Mysterious elves are yin by nature, and are naturally extremely afraid of flames. That's why it killed that guy just after it shot. If it weren't for the fact that we and Xiaoyang were very close, I'm afraid it wouldn't be that person who just died. Bing Shuer said. After hearing the words, the 3 of Gunny were afraid that the 3 of them did not have the fire attribute, and if they joined forces, they might not be able to deal with this mysterious elf. What now? Someone asked immediately. Let Xiaoyang and Meng Fei take the lead. They are both alchemists and they use flames better than any of us. And we are responsible for drawing out the mysterious elves and letting them both perform a fatal blow. Bing Shuer said. Row. No problem. When everyone heard the words, they immediately had no doubts about the arrangement of the ice water. By the way, is any of you a light element? Ice Underwater asked instantly. Light system? Except for the attributes of gold, wood, water, fire, soil and 5 elements, other attributes are quite difficult to create. Song Yu said. I happen to have a scroll of light-based fighting skills. Feng Hong heard the words, naturally he didn't hide it, and said directly. That's good, I'll be optimistic about the opportunity to stab the mysterious elves directly with the light element, and give Xiaoyang and the others some opportunities, said Bing Shuer. Okay. Feng Hong heard the words, and naturally he would not be reluctant to give up a scroll of light-based fighting skills, although this thing was expensive. Next, let's find out where this guy is hiding. Remember, you can't use the power of life and attributes. Otherwise, once the light is generated, I'm afraid we will be in trouble. Bing Shuer exhorted. Well. Everyone heard the words and nodded slightly. They all knew that if the mysterious elves were mad, I'm afraid it would add unnecessary trouble to them. Everyone came for the treasures in the palace, so there would be no fools to do that kind of thing. Squeak. In the darkness, a looming giant creature was suspended above everyone's heads, watching the few people below vigilantly. Originally, the mysterious elf wanted to kill all the people below, but the flames in the body of a person below made him feel uneasy, so after killing one person, he didn't make a move. But at this moment, on the mysterious elf's strange palm, a beating bright red heart was being swallowed by it at a snail-like speed. Suddenly, a drop of blood fell from the top of everyone's heads, and this drop of blood was just trapped on Wang Xie's forehead. Wang Xie stuck out his tongue to devour the blood, and then used his soul power to tell everyone, that guy is on top of our heads. This video will end here.